What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Shake Chatterjee, and this is another episode of Life is Blurry. Today's special guest is none other than Aparna Ramani from the hit Netflix reality show Indian Matchmaking. And I would argue that Aparna is the most memorable member from that show. I mean, honestly, I think you are synonymous with that show, making it, as popular as it was. You were a polarizing character on there. But aside from your time spent on reality TV, you are a best-selling author, an entrepreneur, and as you put it to me earlier, a recovering attorney. So we'll have to talk about what exactly that means and what you have in store for you next at this point. And of course, we have to mention Bo the Pomeranian here, who is part of every podcast, because otherwise he's not going to let you relax, right? He has to be on your lap, from what I've heard.
Yeah, it's that rescue puppy life. You got to give them what they want.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you for coming on the show today, Aparna. And I'm genuinely curious. You have so many things going on. What is your major focus in life right now? What are you working on?
So I just did a complete career switch. I quit being a lawyer. Like we said, I'm a recovering attorney. And so I'm really just focused on what that looks like and what feels good to me and what I want to commit the next 10 to 15 years of my life. Because I was a lawyer for 10 years and I was pretty much miserable the whole time. So I don't want to make that mistake again. I want to be aligned with something that feels good. And I'm doing a lot more writing and creating, and I'm enjoying every moment, really.
That's awesome. Yeah. As a lawyer, you do a lot of reading and writing, and I'm sure those skills translated well to writing your book, which was an enormous success. So She's Not Likable is the name of the book. And you wrote it in a pretty quick time span. How long did it take you?
It was 18 days. I was a speed racer. I really felt like it came from me, though. Memoirs are so interesting. You don't really have to research anything. It's your story. You can just sit down like I did in huge chunks of time, like 10 to 11 hours, and just tell your story, get it out there and have it flow from you. So for me, I kind of made it this stream of consciousness, meditative storytelling, and it was really rewarding. A lot of it was hard to reprocess. I think there's a lot of things in our life we don't process and we just move straight on, and books don't really allow for that. So that was a challenge, but I still think that ultimately it was something I wanted to do in that period of time so that it was more authentic to me.
And you wrote the book after having gone on Indian Matchmaking, because you talk about it quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And, we were both kind of villains. I mean, in a way, I feel like maybe I was more of a villain than you, perhaps, or maybe, I don't know. People didn't like us. We'll put it that way. Would you say that's a fair thing to say?
I think that polarizing means that a lot of people love you and a lot of people hate you. And in between, there's not many folks.
Exactly. No, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, two very polarizing people. Hard to say which one of us was more polarizing. I don't think it has to be a contest, though, right? It's just we're just it's apples to oranges.
We probably missed half the memes on ourselves full of hate anyway, so we won't be able to say.
Probably. Writing a book, though, after having gone through something like that, I think is actually, now that I think about it, it's a fantastic idea. And you have me, you've inspired me a little bit. Maybe that's something I want to try and find the time to do, because you're really able to explain where you are at mentally, spiritually, etc. When all that was happening, what led up to going on the show, what were your motives, what were your struggles, and if nothing else, it gives everyone a much more rounded out view of who you are. So when people understand you, it's harder to, I wouldn't say like dislike, but when they understand you, they see where you're coming from, and it certainly does. I would say actually, yeah, they'll go easier on you, because people can relate. I mean, not everybody's gone through the exact same experiences, but maybe similar experiences, or um, the more people can relate to, the less likely they are to just outright hate you. They might not like you, right? And when I say
Hmm.
you, I don't mean you. I mean just in general. Um,
Right.
so that was a really smart move.
Yeah, well, I did it to share my story. Tens of thousands of people, this will DM you after these shows come out. And one of the resounding questions I got, mostly from women, thousands of women, they said, "How did you become this way?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And then I was like, "Wait, the show doesn't show you any of that. The show is maybe 90 minutes of me tops. I don't even know how many minutes aired of me and my story." And I thought, that's a good point. How do we become the people that we become? What are the moments that shape us? And what are the ways that we can connect human to human with people? I often think of that quote, "You never know when you're meeting someone what they've been through." And that's kind of what it is on reality TV. They're watching you, they're watching me, they're watching an edit of you and me. And they're not getting the background story or the understandings that we had, or like you said, tapping into our human experience. And it's really a disservice. I think that these tropes of the villain and the good girl and the teddy bear and the prince, I mean, they're old and they're tired, and they're being fed to us over and over again because everyone's loving them still. And I think we got to do better. We got to do better when we consume TV, especially reality TV, to be like, yay, this is entertainment. Hey, it's 2 a.m. and I'm binging it, but it's not the truth.
Yeah, no, that's really well said. And we know this better than anybody, but these tropes are for entertainment, for
Mhm.
ratings, for hype. And
Yeah.
and so, it's very much in the interest of everyone involved to make a more fantastical storyline. And that's exactly what some people really, they get really popular, or they get the other end of that, or somewhere in between. And
Hmm.
like we were talking about, we kind of got a little bit of both of the extremes. So having kind of been in similar situations, there's a couple things I want to ask you. For one, did you lose any friends as a result of this? Did you feel like after this happened, any people that you were once close with kind of, changed how they feel about you or anything like that?
No, I didn't have that experience. I was very lucky. I write about this in my book about the media. I did over 150 media outlets across a 3 month span across the world, and they were all on my side. So within, I think, 2 days of the shows coming out, I think we had Oprah Magazine, New York Times, the New Yorker, Washington Post doing features on me, not just on the show, but on me, saying, she's the hero we want. She's not a villain. She's really likable. And I really applaud the media for giving me a platform and for amplifying my voice and my narrative in that show. I think it would be hard for anyone I knew to look at that press and then make an opinion even after they knew me. And so I actually found the opposite. I found that my friends rallied around me, acquaintances stepped up on their own social media pages to defend me. I was really blown away, and that is in huge part due to the media and their response to me. A lot of the journalists I spoke to, I would say maybe 95 to 98% of the journalists I spoke to were women, and they were very loud and proud on this Team Aparna concept, and so. Yeah, I was very lucky, I think, and I was really grateful to have that amplify my own voice. Because I think in this world, if you get on your social media page and try to justify yourself, it could come off, to those who hate you already as a defense mechanism. And so having it go through other outlets, especially reputable ones like Vulture and all that stuff, I think it was really helpful in shaping the narrative around what is it to be the villain edit.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm happy to hear that. And while on my side, I didn't have the media rushing to my rescue per se.
Mhm.
I will say that anybody who knows me or knew me in real life, they stuck by me too.
Mhm.
And I mean, I guess the point there is who you are on TV again is just not who you are in real life. And then, the people who know you, they know you're a good person. They stick by you. They want to support you. I think
Yeah.
one thing you had going for you, in your experience, uh, your it's not as though there was like a victim in your situation and you were the like perpetrator almost. For
Hmm.
me, that's kind of the narrative that got created, even though I've talked about this before, but that's just not true.
Hmm.
And then so imagine if you're in that situation and the victim like really played into that role for their own
Hmm.
benefit kind of thing. So that certainly helps that, for you. Why? Well, let me ask you this: Why do you think that people in the beginning? Why do you think you were so polarizing? What do you think, in your own opinion, made you so polarizing?
Well, I had many victims, so not just one, but the main one that I think that was thrown in episode one, that kind of shaped my narrative. That's the crux of my death threats and everything was my mom and I's reaction to my first date, Srini, and off camera. And I explain it a little bit in the book, as much as I can, because obviously we all have contracts and stuff like that. But I explained that he was really disrespectful, really demeaning in his actions towards me, that a lot of things happened off camera that were honestly unacceptable. And I told my mom
Mm,
about them. I told the producers about them. I told Seema about them. And none of that aired. And a story was created that was patently, in my belief, false. And I think that narrative made a victim, like you
mm,
said,
mm,
and that makes the story a lot more juicy. That this girl absolutely berated this guy for no reason. I think it was because he had a podcast, was the arc that was set. That is certainly not the reason I don't like someone. I've been on 70 podcasts at this point. I'm good with podcasters. I think it's about being disrespected and about being demeaned and setting a boundary and saying that's unacceptable to me. And yet, that's the storyline that really got perpetuated of me being like this really, I don't know, stubborn and elitist bitch. And that my mom was too. My mom got death threats, which was really hurtful.
mm,
Um, and really, it really drew upon me and my strength in that moment, because it's one thing to get them yourself and it's another for your family to be attacked, especially for something that's patently false. And
mm,
so I think for me, that moment was the turning point when I realized that that was why everybody hated me. You also have to realize with Netflix, all the episodes come out at once. Some people only see episode 1 through 2 or one. And
mhm,
if this is being thrown at them in episode 1, then that's sometimes the end of their viewage. I mean, not everyone finishes the show. Think about how many shows you started and stopped. And so, yeah, I think that was detrimental. I think that was unfair. I'm very open about it, or as open as I can be about it. And I think that was the core of my villain edit. And after that, yeah, sure, I'm dismissive of a few guys, or they show me as dismissive of a few guys. In real life, those guys are some of my best friends today. So the dates went well. They just didn't have chemistry, which is not really a crime. It happens
oh,
every day.
of course not. Yeah,
Yeah,
totally fine. Totally fine. Yeah.
totally fine. And those men tried to stick up for me when the show came out, but again, nothing will ever have the reach of a Netflix show. Your
Hmm.
voice, the media, nothing will ever reach the way that that show reaches. And
Hmm.
yeah, I think that's fortunate and unfortunate in many ways.
Yeah. I mean, I would say it's more unfortunate than fortunate. Um,
Depends on what edit you got.
yeah. Well, I mean, if you got a good edit, I mean, one thing that has bothered me having gone through the reality show experience, um, when people get a good edit, I'm not talking about an edit that's reflective of who they are. I'm talking about an edit that makes them seem almost, you know, better. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Or like it actually, inaccurately shows them as even more virtuous, or, I think you get what I'm saying here, right? Uh,
Yeah,
y-
well, there's an article that says, watch out, no one is as good or as bad as they seem. Think about that. No one is as good as we see. We've been
right.
watching reality TV for years, and our heroines and our heroes and our princes and our teddy bears, they get angry, they get irritable in real life. They have toxic relationships, they say mean things, they have emotional baggage that comes with them because they're human. And we
Hmm.
want them to be human. And like you said, that virtuous or that lovable or that fully victimized edit doesn't enhance them anyway. Some of them lean into it, but I wish they would say, I'm bigger than that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
bigger than that. I'm bigger than all the warm fuzzies. I'm a human being that's three-dimensional, and I have a lot to give this world, and some of it's pretty and some of it's ugly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I got a good edit, would I be saying the same thing? Maybe not. But I think it's something to consider when we watch television, and we watch these shows that we're so often like, oh, maybe he's not as bad as he seemed, or maybe she's not as bitchy as she seemed, but we never say, oh, you're not that good at it? Maybe they're not as good as they seemed.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
yeah.
let's get there next. Maybe they're not as good as they seemed.
Oh yeah, no, trust me, they're not as good as they seem. They're not. And it's like when you know that information and like see kind of the public reaction and the public sentiment, it can be tough because you know some people lean into it, like you said, and I think it's okay to some extent, and then some people really lean into it,
Mhm.
and I'm like, are you delusional at this point? Like, some people take it too far. And what's an example of taking it too far? I think it's taking it too far when you leaning into your good person role is at the expense of somebody else. Like it's one thing, okay, everybody loves me. Who doesn't love to be loved, right?
Mhm.
But if everybody loves you because you think something happened that, flatly didn't happen, or,
Mhm.
you kind of things were just not the way as they were portrayed, but people are celebrating you because of that portrayal, but it was at somebody else's expense. I think that's taking it too far. And
Mhm.
and I will say there's quite a bit of that on my season, and
Mhm.
I not just for myself necessarily, for other members of the cast and ones that I've kind of caught up with later on now that things have calmed down.
Mhm.
It's good to hear that you are friends with the people that you went on dates with,
Mhm.
even if it didn't work out romantically. I think that's a testament to your character and theirs, that you guys stayed friends. How
Yeah,
has that been?
we respected each other throughout the process, and that respect became a friendship, especially when the show launched. Being a season one is a very interesting moment. I think, I've met people from Love is Blind season one and other season ones, and it's this really raw, vulnerable state that you're in when the show comes out because you don't know how big it's going to get. And you don't know the attention it's going to get. We didn't even know it would be aired globally till the week before. The trailer didn't come out till like 8 days before. We were in the middle of a pandemic, so the friendships have grown through that process too, of kind of being thrown into this frenzy that we never expected. I mean, it's a show that was full of singles that stayed single that were South Asian. Like, who was going to watch that? We thought. Well, turns out millions of people around the world were going to watch it in the middle of a pandemic, and they were going to have a lot of opinions about things that were not true. And yeah, I think that made those men that were my friends, really step up in a role that I appreciate. And sure, it's been 2 years now. We're not the closest. We don't speak every day anymore. But in that period, they became a support system for me. And I would hope that for anybody in that situation, when your reality show airs, I hope you have some sort of support system within your cast, because otherwise it's a really lonely, isolating place to be. I mean, your friends and family can only step up so much, but it's the people that were in it with you, that were in the trenches, that are really a great support system.
Absolutely, because nobody else knows what it's like completely. They don't know
Yeah.
the ins and outs, the behind the scenes. So, and yeah, it's tough when you don't have that. It is tough. I mean, you know, um, again, I don't want to, make this about me and my experience. I'm very interested in yours, but I will say I had the support of my entire cast. We were all great friends until the show came out, and I was kind of prominently painted the villain. No
Hmm.
no new information came out during the airing of the show. Everything was known by all parties. It's
Hmm.
just that after the show came out and it was kind of exposed, okay, you are like you were saying, the teddy bear, the princess, blah blah blah. Shake, you're the villain, and then everybody else is like, oh,
Piled on top.
exactly. They're like, oh, he's the
Mhm.
villain. Okay, well, hey, good thing I'm not. I'm not the villain, at least. All right,
Mhm.
and then yeah, like piled on top because there's some virtue signaling there. There's they're protecting their own images. I mean, keep in mind before the show, there's no image to protect. We're all
Mhm.
just regular anonymous people. But once you have an image, it's like now you have something to lose, right? So
Right.
people switch up their story, and that was hard for me because
Yeah.
they were my friends, and
Mhm.
I hung out for the reunion of my show. I mean, I was hanging out with them days before the reunion,
Mhm.
and it's like, okay, the cameras are on. They're like, okay, like now I'm gonna save what I've been like. I'm like, we were just hanging out. I don't know. It's a
That's
tough
super
situation.
hurtful. I mean, that's super hurtful. I mean, I don't know, this clinging to the edit thing. I think it's very common. They prey upon that in the edit themselves, hoping that you do that after. I think it helps to show. And so there's a lot of things that we outside of this industry, I'm starting to realize now, 2 years later, just don't get. Like we patently just don't get it. Like we're never going to figure it out until maybe we spend 10 years in this industry. So I think that's really an interesting, like these edits they give us. It's a really interesting thing, an experiment in how we as human beings kind of grab onto them and cling to them and we'll for the rest of our lives cling to them if it was in our favor. And if it wasn't in our favor, we'll spend our lives potentially telling our story, I hope. I mean, that's my hope. That's why I wrote that book. I wrote She's Unlikable thinking, okay, so maybe everyone's not going to go on a Netflix show and be vilified, but aren't we all vilified in our workplaces at one point, in schoolyards, in our families, at our dinner tables, in our WhatsApp groups? There's so many places that your narrative is stripped away from you. And the whole point of my book was to say to people, like, stand up and tell your story. The things you create when you're on your knees and in your deepest, darkest place and feeling absolutely stripped of your story, those are the things that are going to make the most impact in this world.
Yeah.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
the beginning and end of it. What will you create from this place? You
Mm-hmm.
could create going to your bed and putting the covers over your head. You can create like you did, moving to Miami, living a new life, pursuing things that you love. You can live like me. I went to the West Village and wrote a book and made new friends and started something different. We all have ultimate agency at the point when we're on our knees. And what we do from that point is who we are. It's a testament to who we are.
Yeah, no, that's really well said. Yeah, and I think sometimes it starts with a bit of put your head under the covers, and then you pull yourself out of that. And that's part of the process too. So it's okay to take a moment to for any
Wallow.
yeah
Have the pity party.
have the pity party for anybody who's been villainized or about to be villainized on reality TV. Here's some advice for you. It's okay to process it and then, get back on the horse.
Yeah.
So you talked about being on season 1 of a new show, which was a fantastic success. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
There's been rumors of a season 2. Can you confirm or deny?
It's not rumors. Netflix has fully announced season 2 and 3 and Jewish matchmaking.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And yeah, Jewish matchmaking is coming. I'm not on Jewish matchmaking, you guys.
Crossover.
Yeah, that would be fun though. But yeah, no, they have fully announced that season 2 of Indian matchmaking and Jewish matchmaking will air before the end of this year. So a lot more to come in the matchmaking franchise. And
I guess
we'll see.
the rumor was, will you be on season 2? That's the rumor that I'm getting at.
The rumor. I have heard the same rumor.
Oh, have you? Okay.
I can't confirm or deny that I'm on season 2, so I'll have you take that with a grain of salt there.
Okay.
But I would be open to continuing to share my story in general. I'm very transparent on my own social media and my books. I'm working on a few other projects that will bring people into my life more. And that would be something I would definitely be open to, but I can't confirm it.
Okay, that's fair. We don't have to dig too far into that.
Yeah.
There is a topic I wanted to hit with you that I haven't been able to hit with other podcast guests so far.
Ooh,
and
tell me.
that is just the topic of more brown people, we'll say, Indian, Pakistani, any
South
Asian,
all of them.
Yeah, all of them,
all of them.
We are getting more representation, which is great. and it's a different type of representation than what it's been in the past. And
Hmm.
I think you and I are great examples of that, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. When we saw Asians or South Asians on The Simpsons or in TV shows, they were always the nerd. They were always the geeky one, the heavy accent. They were always submissive or in some way coy if they're women. And now I think with, it started with Family Karma and Never Have I Ever and Indian Matchmaking. I think they all came out within a few months of each other. They took all Indian casts, and then they did something great with Love Is Blind. They took South Asians and just put them in the cast,
Mm-hmm.
and they did it on Inventing Anna. If you see a lot of Shonda shows in general, Bridgerton obviously is a huge example, but that's also a Shonda show with Inventing Anna. They just peppered the cast with South Asians, either in leads or not. And it's a moment of us evolving and being a part of the collective story, and also telling our own story. I mean, you think back to a period where your understanding maybe of Black America was rap videos and the Cosby Show, because that's all we had.
Mm-hmm.
And now look at Black media and all the work that they've done to kind of make the Black story a lot more nuanced and a lot more complicated and a lot more rounded and well-rounded. That gave us the opportunity for the first time as South Asians to be villains, to be heroines, to be all the different things that were outside of our culture's stereotypes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's powerful, and I want to see more of it. I think we have a lot to give the entertainment world. We're a part of the story now, but we can always see more. And I look at Black media as that example, and I want that for the South Asian media.
Yeah, no, that's incredibly well said. I mean, the points about traditionally having that kind of shy, nerdy, meek kind of personality,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, and people kind of say on the internet or they joke around, they're like, man, we wanted a brown guy and this is what we get. But you know what? I'm happy with what I was able to contribute to this space because I kind of boldly stated that, yeah, we're people too. We're, we are not those nerds and whatever.
Yeah, and
Um,
we don't run your convenience store all the time, and we're not always your doctor. I mean, you are a doctor, but
Puppy
a puppy
doctor.
doc, as you call yourself.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we're people too, and it's good that the world can see us as that. And the more they see us as that, the less these harmful stereotypes about what a South Asian is are perpetuated over and over again.
Exactly. Um, we're getting close to wrapping up here, but
Sure.
another one last topic I kind of wanted to cover because again it affects both of us. So I feel like one of the reasons you were polarizing is because you were so I wouldn't say picky. I mean, I would almost say, you were kind of clear about what you wanted or at least clear about what you didn't want, right? And
Hmm.
then, some people took that as you were being dismissive. Some people, was kind of like a how dare she type of thing. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I think it was really interesting. And I write about that in my book about misogyny and about sexism. Because if a man did that, and they kind of show that a man does do that on my show, if he says no to 150 women, that's cool, but he'll get 150 first. I said no to one person, and I was called mentally unstable, stubborn, picky. I think it's a larger narrative about sexism and misogyny, and I was really confused because I had never really experienced it to that stark a moment in my life before. I've been very fortunate. I understand that now, that I hadn't experienced it like that until my mid-30s, but it didn't mean that it wasn't hurtful, not only to me, but to women in general, to start personifying them as people who should be grateful for any man that's thrown their way, that they should be crying because they're so lonely. They didn't get that from me, and they were really upset by that. And I think that says a lot more about people who are upset than me.
Mm-hmm.
It says a lot about the way that they view women, the harmful ways they view women. And that's kind of what my book title is: She's Unlikable and Other Lies That Bring Women Down. The
Mm-hmm.
lies that we tell women, that if you're confident and ambitious and driven, you don't deserve love. You don't deserve to have a partner that loves you, or that considers you an equal, or that brings you flowers. You're not deserving, and that's just not true.
Yeah.
And I think that that's harmful, that we perpetuate that over and over again.
Well, I got bad news for you.
Yeah.
It's not just completely misogynistic, because a similar thing happened to me. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of my backlash was about how dare he prefer this type of woman or that type of woman? How dare he have a sexual preference? How dare he have a type? And I get I get a big part of that is, yeah, I was on a show where we were supposed to kind of remove that, but a lot of times we're just being asked straight up, what is your type? And almost encouraged to kind of not prioritize a physical feature per se, but at least lifestyle questions. Do you like to work out? Things like that. We're encouraged to ask those sort of questions, and people see me and they're like, oh, this guy's not in shape, he's not that attractive, how dare he want to be with somebody he finds attractive? And it just kind of backwards to me, because it's like, do you yourself have to be a certain type to be attracted to a type? I mean, I do get, the saying that, you have to be a certain type of person to attract a certain type of person, right? I get that, like people who work out constantly typically don't get along with people who like have never seen the inside of a gym. But
Right.
but at the same time, I mean, people are quick to attack me because they're like, this guy likes this type of person, he's not even hot. I'm like, how are those two things, why do they even relate to one
Equate.
another? Yeah, it
Yeah.
just doesn't make sense.
Well, I watched obviously Love is Blind, but I also gathered that there were very long interviews that you guys were each giving individually. And this is just my guess, for probably 3 or 4 hours on the kind of people that you want. And then from those 4 hours, they picked the most salacious things or the ones that fit your arc the best. And then they made it your truth.
Mhm.
I mean, I never said that I wanted someone who didn't know about the Bolivian salt flats. That was a story I told them about someone who was really condescending to me, actually. And they took it out of context. You can talk for 5 hours, be boiled down to a minute, and you can be boiled down to any minute.
Yeah.
You could have been like the teddy bear with that same footage you gave them. You could have been the prince, you could have been the villain, and the same is for everyone. And so I'm not sure that what you said, I don't remember any of those things you said, but I'm sure that whatever you said was said in a larger context. I'm sure whatever everyone else said was also 4 hours or more of what they were saying. And what was shown to us was what was chosen to be shown to us.
Right. Exactly. No, that's very well said. And, I mentioned this earlier, but I was friends with everybody until the label of villain was stamped on me, and they knew what I said. They knew they knew who I was.
Right.
I'd spent a lot of time with each person there. I organized the events. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's been fantastic chatting with you. We've had similar stories, and it's really nice to see how you've handled or managed yourself through that. And inspirational, nothing short of inspirational, because
That's so kind.
Yeah, no, it's really great seeing you flourish here and make lemonades out of your lemons. I would
I'm
say
making sweet lemonade.
Yeah,
Let me tell
it's
you,
like
life's pretty good.
it's like a vodka lemonade at this point. Things
Yeah,
are
right.
absolutely wonderful. So
you.
congratulations to you. Why don't you let the listeners know where they can find you and follow you?
You can find me on Instagram. That's the easiest way. It's my name at Aparna Shawakramani. You can buy She's Unlikable, learn more about this story, and it's available, on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles. But I always support my local bookstore, so do independent bookstore if you can.
Love that. Love that. Well, thank you so much, Aparna, for joining us today. And everybody, this has been another episode of Life is Blurry. We'll see you next time.